During the summertime, I started getting back into collecting N64 games and started picking up some extra things for my N64, like a new expansion pack cover. I cleaned up the console. I bought a new controller. I set up a dedicated space in my arcade here for just N64. I even went as far as to get a multi-cartridge so I could play pretty much the entire library, as well as delve into Super Nintendo games and everything else in that format. However, one of the things that was missing and felt like it was missing after I started to get invested in some of these games again was the actual display. I had a LCD TV set up in this space, and while it served its purpose, unfortunately classic consoles like the N64 just don't look good on that type of display. So I've spent the last month or so trying to source a properly sized, when I say properly sized, I got a small space here, so for me 13 to 10 inches or so sized CRT TV are perfect for the space. And I tried searching for something like this, and finally, after a ton of searching, found one for a reasonable price. And in this video, I'm going to go over my setup again and why I think this is the final piece to it and why I'm enjoying reliving my N64 experience on this display. So let's take a look. Even though I purchased an HDMI converter for my Nintendo 64, it just didn't feel the same playing on a LCD display with games that have really low resolutions considering the era, and a lot of them were optimized with CRT displays in mind. So playing on that display just felt like it was unnecessarily bad, and it felt like it was missing something the whole time I was using my LCD display for my N64. And so I started looking at places like Facebook Marketplace, and I'd be transparent with you, I was a little surprised that CRT TVs kind of skyrocketed in price. It seemed like if I wanted a good 13-inch display, I was going to be spending well over $100 for a 13-inch TV with a VHS combo and those sorts of things. And so I basically just kept looking and looking and looking. And now you have to understand, I'm not somebody who needed to have like a classic Sony CRT display to view these games in the best way possible of that era. I just wanted a CRT display in general that worked, that could fit and accompany my space here. And fortunately, I ended up finding somebody on Marketplace selling a brand I'd never heard of, Diamond Vision DVD/CRT TV combo. Now, unfortunately, the DVD portion does not work on this, but it's not a major issue. I'm not necessarily interested in using that function. The 13-inch screen was what I was most after, and I wanted to obviously make sure that it worked, and after testing it, of course, it does. So my setup now, currently, I've cleared out some things, I've moved some things around here, but as you can see, I added a couple little touches. I pretty much put this Mario box behind my N64 to hide the mess of wires that I have back there, and then accented it with some Super Mario stuffies that have been sitting around my arcade. And basically, this is my current setup. And mixed with my Kiwatada controller, I think I'm pronouncing that right, I've been delving into a lot of these classic games again on this display, and I haven't felt this level of nostalgia, to be honest with you, since I kind of got into this whole arcade or home arcade hobby. And so that's been pretty cool to experience. For me, growing up, there were a couple different styles of CRT TVs I remember bouncing around, and I played a lot of N64 and GameCube on an old 13-inch screen with a VHS built into it. And I spent a lot of time really investing myself into Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and all these top tier games on these small, at that time probably considered subpar displays. But there's a level of charm to it that really adds to the nostalgia and just adds to, in my opinion, the playability of some of these games, because they were designed with these screens in mind. So everything feels just right when you're playing games of that era on that style of display. And so currently, as it stands, this whole area that I have set up for my N64 feels complete. And I'm very excited to get back into Majora's Mask on this style of display and really experience some of these classic games, how they were meant to be played.